YouTube Ozeko, the Goat House is back. And recently, we're not even really in the offseason yet, but recently some big name quarterbacks have come up in terms of trade candidates, big time. Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford. We got videos covering those guys. We'll continue to cover that. But now, got like Jared Goff comes up, potential trade candidate. And we kind of had that. We predicted that he could become one about a week ago. And there's some talk around that now. The Rams, they don't feel set with their quarterback. They could look to trade him. Obviously, they can't cut him. And they could, they're going to have an open competition, whether he's there or not. So we're here to break it down, kind of the numbers with Jared Goff's contract, what that means now, what it means in the future, and what teams could be thrown out there with a potential Jared Goff trade, and which teams I would be okay with making that deal and which teams I don't want to make that deal. So we'll talk about all of that. We got videos similar to this, all kinds of free agency, NFL draft coverage. We got you plenty more to come. So check out the channel, subscribe, smash that like button, be much appreciated. Any link that you need will be in the description and comments. That Twitter, it's an absolute must follow sided app where you can win Amazon gift cards by debating football. Check it out. Here's that Twitter. So, recent news, just real recent. I already planned on doing this video because kind of the Jared Goff trade news, potential trade news came out a week ago. But the Rams involved themselves in a Matthew Stafford deal. Somehow Goff would have to be shipped out, whether it's to the Lions in that deal or not. So that's pretty interesting. But we're constantly talking about all this on our Twitter. So all the numbers, everything right when it happens. So that's a must follow. If you don't have a Twitter, I'd recommend making one. Link in the description for that, but it's at GoatHouse NFL. But let's take a look at Jared Goff's contract first. Real important at the top, you'll see some important things here. The Rams will save $12.42 million for 2021. If they trade Jared Goff. Of course, they would save everything else in the future as well, but they would clear $12.42 million by this year in cap space, and they're in the negative too, so that helps a lot for now and the future, of course. The team that brought in Jared Goff would be hit with $27.16 million. So you see the 2021 cap hit, so they don't get all that $34 million there. The Rams, of course, would get hit with some of that, but overall they would save. But the new team would get hit with 27.16, wherever that would be, if the trade even happens. But the main purpose of this, looking at the future of the contract here, Jared Goff's got this big deal, probably getting overpaid. Most people would agree with that. He still has some glimpses of good play. Let's see if he can stay consistent. But so this year they would be hit with that 27.16. Next year, they could actually cut him in 2022, but they would only save $2 million, so it probably wouldn't be worth the trade, or just under that probably. So essentially it's a 2-year deal, even though it's 4 more years. As you can tell, he's under contract through 2024. It could really you're only really locked in for 2 years. Look at 2023. The cap hits a lot, 31.8, but dead cap's at 8.6. So you would save the difference there. You would save the difference of 31 and 8.6 there. So you would save a lot. So you don't feel locked in. You don't feel locked in, and then kind of the same thing goes for 2024. You can save even more there. There's much more of a difference, really. So if you do trade for him, you do hope it works for the long haul, but you aren't really locked in, so that's kind of the good thing. And you always can restructure. Maybe he takes a pay cut. Who knows? So kind of just to get an idea of his contract, it essentially just think of it. It's a 4-year deal remaining, but think of it of a lock-in of 2 years. It's not the full 4. So I know people are probably worried about that. Let's take a look at the teams, and I kind of put them in tiers, and I'm kind of in the way of the Detroit Lions right now. So I'm going to put myself up there. These are the teams that will probably be brought up at some point if this trade gets serious. The only team, depending on what they sent in the deal, that I would kind of like the deal for is the Indianapolis Colts. I think Goff could have some success on the Colts. Of course, they need to kind of improve at the receiver position, because the Rams have had some pretty good receivers. The Colts are a little thin at that spot. They can get better there with their cap space, and they could afford that $27 million cap hit. They can afford it this year. They can afford that cap hit next year, and then they're not really locked in anymore. And I think with the Colts offensive line, which is a major upgrade over the Rams, they do need to find a left tackle because Costanzo retired. But in Reich's system, even though McVay has a good system, I would like Goff in Reich's system with that offensive line. I think they'd be pretty successful. They actually might have been better this year with Goff. For some reason I see a fit there. And, I'm not saying they should go out and just trade whatever for him, of course. But, if you can find the right deal, then I think it'd be worth it for the Colts. Maybe I'm okay with the trade depending on the compensation there. I wouldn't be, completely bashing it with the Patriots and Washington football team, because the Patriots with Jared Goff, I think they probably make the playoffs. They put themselves back in the playoff conversation. And Washington just got no production from their offense right now. Their defense got them to the playoffs, and I think adding Goff in there, they do need to probably retool the offensive line a little bit, touch it up a little bit in the receiver unit. But I think they would be a better team. Would I recommend it? Probably not, but I wouldn't be, bashing them. I'd be okay with it, again, depending on the deal. And then, one I'm not really feeling. I can see it happening. It's not the end of the world, but I'm not really feeling these. The Panthers, they kind of involved themselves in the Deshaun Watson trade. They have Teddy Bridgewater. How much of a difference between Teddy and Jared Goff? I think Jared Goff is slightly better. I do really like the fit, though. Goff in Joe Brady's system. I actually called Joe Burrow a millionaire's Jared Goff. So Jared Goff would be a poor man's Joe Burrow, who Joe Brady had success with. So I think they could have success in that offense, especially with those weapons they have, and the defense continue to get better because it's so young and talented there. So I love the fit, but the reason I have it, I like the fit a little more than some of the teams above them, but the reason I don't really like it that much is because, it's a young team. I know Jared Goff is kind of young still, but yeah, they're involved in Deshaun Watson, sweepstakes, I guess. And, you'd definitely rather go that route if they can't figure that out. If they can't get Deshaun Watson, we get a pretty good draft pick. I'd rather just take a rookie that has more potential than Jared Goff. So there's just other things I would rather do where, a team like the Patriots, they're probably better off getting a veteran. Washington's kind of borderline. Now the more I'm talking about, I'm kind of about Washington, but they would be better. And the Broncos, maybe you're just better off hanging on to Drew Lock. Is Drew Lock going to go win the Super Bowl? No, but he could improve. And do you want to take that cap hit in? No. I think the Broncos probably be better with Goff, honestly, but is it really worth it? I don't know if it's really worth it, but the offense line is improving. They have the weapons there. The offense is ready for a quarterback to come in and have success. So it's now or never for a guy like Drew Lock or whoever they bring in, really. And then don't effing do it. The Jets definitely shouldn't do it. You're sitting there with the second pick. It's either take that quarterback of the future, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or trade for Deshaun Watson, the quarterback of the future. The Bears shouldn't do it because, if Goff comes in here, it's really not going to be anything different than what the Rams were doing. The Rams actually had more weapons on offense than the Bears, and it's going to be the defense, mainly relying on the defense. It's going to be the same situation. And the Bears, they could possibly be a playoff team again, but they're not going to be any more than that, so it'd kind of be a waste, and they wouldn't be able to get better in spots on the offense where they need to get better. And the Lions we put in here because, the Rams have involved themselves in a Matthew Stafford deal, so they would 100%, they probably already have tried to push Jared Goff to the Lions, but the Lions sending away Stafford and taking in Jared Goff, they would actually lose $13 million. You think about them sending away a big contract and a good quarterback of Matthew Stafford, you think you would just save all this money, and you do until you bring in Goff, and you actually lose a good amount of money. So they don't really want to do that. They definitely don't want to do that. If you're getting, a load of picks, taking that contract and trading away Stafford, okay. I don't know if the Rams really have that capital. They don't have a first round pick this year, so they wouldn't really make much sense to me. And probably more teams will probably pop up. People every time a quarterback's available, people bring up the Steelers, but it sounds like they're going to restructure Big Ben's deal and roll with him. There's really no point to go off. The Saints. Will they be able to pay him? Probably not. No, they wouldn't. And they'd probably rather just roll with Winston or Hill anyways. That makes sense. So other teams will be brought up, but it's kind of pointless to throw them in here in this situation. Yeah, really the only one, the more and more I'm talking, I really, really wouldn't be okay with Washington, to be honest. It wouldn't be the end of the world. They're kind of on the fringe there. And the Patriots, they would definitely be back to a playoff team. I could see Goff having success there. It'd probably be better than them, having a new project in there, creating a project. Depends on the rookie. I guess all rookies aren't a project, but where they sit in the draft and teams probably not willing to trade out of their spot, to let that quarterback pass. But the Colts, I think they could have success. That's a very well-coached team. That coaching of that team, and they got talent in the right spots, the offensive line. The young guys on offense are getting better. Obviously, they're going to continue to get better, and they got some bright players on defense as well. That makes sense. And just trying to figure out what what it would take to trade for Jared Goff, it is really tough to figure out. It's kind of what I came up with, and I'm not predicting this to happen. I'm not at all predicting this to happen, but this is one that would make the most sense at this time. The Colts getting because I kind of like that's like I don't love it, but if I had to pick a team where I like Jared Goff the most out of the teams that would be maybe willing to take him or could take him, it'd be the Colts. So that's where I came up with this. And again, I'm not predicting this to happen or anything anything like that. People that skim through the video probably will think that. But yeah, how about a third and a fourth round pick? It's tough to come across veteran, experienced quarterbacks. That Goff takes a lot of heat. I still view him as a decent quarterback, and he has these moments, like he has these games that are just like the talent is in there. The talent is there. You can see it. How do we get it out of him consistently, and how do we eliminate? It's pretty hard to eliminate things at this point in the career, but how do we eliminate the mistakes that takes your team out of the game? I think maybe Reich and company can do that. It's a possibility. High risk, high reward type deal. A third and a fourth is what I came up with. It's kind of a shot in the dark there. But again, the Rams could become, and I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit ago, the Rams actually could become very desperate to trade Jared Goff. Like if they have a deal in place for Stafford or something or somebody else, and they just need to get rid of Goff, they lose leverage there, and it could potentially be cheaper than this, maybe just a third or just a fourth. And then the Colts should really... the only negatives are the Colts have this lined up where they want to get this big free agent, this big free agent, this big free agent, this one. They typically don't do that. They don't go too crazy with a long list of big-time expensive free agents. But if they do have that lined up, then that would make sense to stay away because they won't be able to do that. But they could still kick off and make some big moves, just not a long list of them, which I don't see any team really making that long list of huge free agency additions anyways. So that would be the only reason not to, I suppose. But yeah, again, the leverage can go down because the Rams can become desperate, and that can mean less. But I think this is his value. The value could be more than that right now, actually. Maybe a second-round pick that's pretty close to a second-round pick. Because, it's so rare that quarterbacks like this become available via trade, but it happens to be the same year. Is Deshaun Watson really available? I guess that's the question. But Matthew Stafford available, and maybe guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Marcus Mariota could become available. So depends on who would you rather have. Maybe you'd rather have those guys for cheaper. So the price may be driven down. So this would actually could end up being a win for the Rams. But we'll see. A lot plays into this, and that's why, I can't stress enough that I'm not predicting this, and I'm really not at this point saying the Colts need to do this. I'm not at all saying that. I think you get my point. If you listen to the video, you kind of get my points on this. It's just mainly kind of get an idea of the numbers, contracts, Jared Goff, what teams do expect to come up, and, mainly, I wasn't going to say what a trade could actually look like, but kind of showing it's a mystery at this point, and desperation could kick in, leverage could kick in, the value could go down. Somebody might be able to steal them, but when you have that contract coming in, that cap hit coming in, it's going to hurt a little bit. So maybe it's not a complete steal, but yeah, I just thought it was a fun video idea here. And we'll do more of these with more trade candidates if they become serious, kind of like we did with Deshaun Watson and Matthew Stafford. I'm not taking the Aaron Rodgers news serious at all, as you can tell by me not doing a video. We got all kinds of videos on the channel covering the NFL more than anybody out there, so hopefully you come back and watch more videos of ours and subscribe, turn notifications on, smash that like button, check out that Twitter. You're missing out if you're not on that Twitter, I swear. Be much appreciated if you follow that. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.